Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jonny Bowden. Today's question is, what is the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist? Good question. So, a dietitian is somebody who went through a specific training program designed by the American Dietetic Association. Now, the American Dietetic Association recently changed its name to the American Academy of Dietetics and Nutrition, and we're not going to get into that right now. It's basically the same organization. So let's just talk about the American Dietetic Association. They were formed in the early part of the 20th century by two women in a hospital, and their purpose was to make doctors' lives easier and to do the stuff that doctors didn't want to be bothered with because it wasn't that important, like, for example, nutrition. And they were really developed out of a sensibility in which the doctor knew best. No one would challenge the doctor, and they were there to carry out the doctor's orders. Remember, this is a time in American history when, in the hospital cafeteria, when the doctor came in, the nurses would get up to give him their chair. I kid you not. So understand the zeitgeist of the moment. So the American Dietetic Association was always the handmaiden to the mighty doctor. And that is why to this day you will never hear a spokesperson for the American Academy of Dietetics and Nutrition ever say anything that is contrary to what conventional medicine puts out there, what the AMA says, what the American Heart Association says. They still don't really think that supplements matter and that you need them. They only very recently, a couple of years ago maybe, said that it's possible that maybe a low-carb diet might have a place in the treatment of diabetes and obesity. So this is the most conservative organization you can imagine. I clearly am not a fan of this organization, whether they call themselves the American Dietetic Association or the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, or Dietetics and Nutrition. To me, it's the same very reactive, job-protecting organization. Now, let me be very clear. There are many people who went through that training, dietitians who have the RD credential, who are brilliant and smart, and they don't necessarily believe all the stuff that the organization believes, and they don't stand for all those things, and they do use supplements, and they are functional medicine practitioners. But by and large, the organization is sclerotic and conservative, and in my opinion has done more to harm the health of America than almost any other so-called health organization. Now, nutritionists have not gotten that particular education. So nutritionists could have, the problem with nutritionists is it's not always a licensed or regulated profession, so people can call themselves nutritionists if they're the clerk at GNC, and it goes from that to people who have PhDs in nutrition. So a nutritionist can come from a variety of backgrounds, academic backgrounds. They could have a bachelor's in nutrition, they could have an advanced certification, they could have postdoctorate certification. There's lots of ways to get knowledge in that, and then they need to get clinical experience as well. But the distinction has generally been, did they go through what used to be the American Dietetic Association authorized curriculum in order to get the RD? And that's really the biggest distinction. Now, although I am not a fan of the American Dietetic Association or the Academy, there are things about that education that are very good. If you need someone to do intravenous nutrition or nutrition through a tube in a hospital, a dietitian is your person. They have been trained in that. They've been trained in dialysis, in all kinds of medical assisting that has to do with nourishment. But they're not who I would go to. That training would not produce someone I would go to for advice about supplements and performance and diet and anti-aging and all the other stuff that nutritionists deal with in a functional medicine kind of situation. Again, this is not a smash on dietitians. Some of the smartest people I know, Esther Blum, fantastic dietitian who kind of threw out most of what they taught her and kept some. But there are rebels, just like there are doctors, who don't stand the party line when it comes to medical advice. They do believe that supplements have a use. They do believe in lifestyle and acupuncture and all these other things, and gut health and sleep health and all the things that most conventional doctors don't talk about. So clearly, I'm slamming a profession, but I'm saying the training is quite different. One comes from a very conservative training, and that would be dietitians, and the other comes from all sorts of different academic channels that can prepare you for a career in nutrition and counseling. And that basically is the difference between an RD, a dietitian, and a nutritionist, who could be just someone with a bachelor's, someone with a one-year course above the bachelor's, someone with a master's degree, someone with a PhD, someone with an MD. One of the best nutritionists in the country, Dr. Mark Houston, down at St. Joseph's Hospital in Nashville, is both an MD and an MS in nutrition. So we come to this knowledge differently. We don't all go through that cookie-cutter program that the American Dietetic Association designed so many years ago. And you can find great practitioners in both camps. Sometimes the lines are blurred. There are some dietitians who are basically nutritionists, and there are nutritionists who are very conservative, but fewer of those. So I hope that helps you make some kind of choice about who you want to talk to, or at least helps you understand that when you are talking to a middle-of-the-road dietitian, you are not getting the cutting-edge advice. You're getting very conservative, very vetted talking points that are usually endorsed by conservative medical associations. And if that's the information that you want, that's great, but know that that's where it's coming from. This is Jonny Bowden. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like, subscribe to the channel, go to my website, jonnybowden.com, and I will see you on the next video.